Good morning, traders. I'm Owen Larson from Mission Winners, and welcome to the January 26th episode of Market Edge, Ahead of the Trade, where we bring you forward-looking insights to sharpen your strategy and maintain your edge. We've got a packed lineup today, so let's dive right in with a breakdown of the ETFs from none other than Pat Walker.
Okay, thanks for that introduction, Owen. Let's get into this week's ETFs. This is sorted alphabetically. ARK Innovation. You can always look and see the name right up there, okay, and the ticker symbol. So you can see weekly on the left. It's just basing here. That's nice to see, and it's basing right here. Perhaps it'll take out this top, and I'll draw a line for you to help you. We'll just do it on the weekly. Take out that top with volume. Could be a potential buy. And again, this is the weekly. Same thing's true on the daily. There's a line right here, and I'll draw it to help you. There you go. Just has to take that out. It has to take it out with volume. Now, this is why I love looking at weeklies and dailies, and I used to teach this at the IBD meetups. Right here, it ran up, and then it gaps up and runs up, and it tailed off and closed near the lows on a slight pickup in volume. What does that tell us? There's a little bit of selling up there. Needs to push through there, and it needs to push through with volume. And until it does, just be a little cautious. Wait for the triggers. Wait for those. They'll help you. Next generation, same situation. Look, you can see the base right here, and I'll draw this. On these videos, by the way, we do it for educational purposes too. Teaching what to look for. That's knowledge power that will help you make better decisions. Hopefully more money and be safer too. There it is, clean tops. Notice it ran up here and it fell, ran up here and it fell. Tells us there's a seller. What does it need to do? Push through these tops with volume. And it might do it next week, and we'll be ready. Now you can say, well, we could buy the ETF, or you could look and find out the top 5 or 10 holdings in this ETF, and there could be opportunities there too. That's why we do this, and it works. Biotechnology, do a compare and contrast. Well, it kind of looks like it's near highs, Pat. I agree. Good analysis. Well, Pat, that doesn't look so good. I agree. Good analysis. What does that say? Stay away from biotech. Done. Done. There's nothing there at this point in time. Energy, still kind of choppy here. There's not, it's choppy on the daily. Here, it's choppy on the weekly. Just kind of be cautious with that. There's just not a lot of oomph there. I'd be careful with energy. Dow Jones Internet. Now look at this. On the weekly, it's picking up, and on the daily, it's picking up. Maybe looking at some internet stocks. That's good to know. IBD 50 is picking up a little bit. Still some overhead supply here on the weekly, and you can see it on the daily too, okay? But it is improving a little bit in the IBD 50. That's a great ETF index of IBD 50 stocks, leading stocks. There you go. That's good to know. There's not a tremendous amount of power in it right now. Gold miners picking up a little bit, but tons of overhead on the daily and tons of overhead on the weekly. What does this say? If you're going to do gold miners, be cautious. It's not the cleanest pattern. You're not going to see this chart set up right here. You're not going to see this in any book saying, well, this is what you look for. Okay? Just laying it out there for you. Gold, on the other hand, this is why we do this. Gold miners, there ain't much happening there, right? Gold, oh, that looks a little bit better. Trending up, and we're in it, and it's working. One thing I have to share this with you, and again, my background's in education also, on university levels. Gaps here, okay? What does that tell you? Look, there's a gap here, there's a gap here, a price gap here, and here. Be careful chasing price gaps, okay? If you buy a price gap up, go smaller to lessen risk, because just as soon as it can go up, like here, oh, look at this, look, bam. Be careful with that, okay? Just want to share that with you. That will help you. Micro sectors, FANG, basing right here. This is leverage, so be careful with it. But it does show in the FANG stocks. We all know that. We all know about the FANG stocks. It's basing here, and it doesn't look too bad, okay? And it has shown some leadership. And yeah, we've been involved in some of those FANG stocks for a while. Continue onwards. Cybersecurity's picking up a little bit. Looking at some cybersecurity stocks. Here's the weekly and the daily. You can see it. Maybe there's some opportunity. You can punch up Hack, find out the top 10 holdings, and take a look at them. Systemization. Instead of looking all over the place, organize things. And it works. Biotechnology, stay away. That's simple. There's nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. Continue onwards. Online retail's picking up a little bit, but you can see there's a ton of overhead on the daily and on the weekly. And that just says be a little cautious with it, okay? It is improving. That's a plus. Software technology picking up a little bit, but quite a bit of overhead. And again, I'm not being negative and bearish. I'm just reporting what is, all right? It's not in a super safe spot right here for buying. That's all. And you can see there's some overhead supply on the weekly. Also, it fell on fairly heavy volume, and it's rallied up on less volume, less power. So just be a little cautious with software technology. Continue onwards. Oh, look at medicine. Look at how this is doing. I mean, do a compare and contrast. It's kind of sloppy, Pat. I agree. There's not a lot of power there. Oh, Pat, look, that's got some power. Yeah, now you got it. There we go. And it has been demonstrating power for a while. You could have punched up IHI. You could have bought the ETF. Or back here when it was starting to lift, you could punched up IHI and looked at their top 10 holdings and maybe found something. There we go. Now, it's a little bit extended now, okay? So be cautious with that. But what's the trend? The trend is up. And maybe you'll find something in this group that hasn't broken out yet. Now, here's a valuable lesson for everybody that most people don't know. Well, I see a couple of them have really moved, but there's some that really aren't moving too much. They may be laggards, okay? They're not the leaders. Focus on leaders in the group. That'll really help you, folks. We want leaders, not laggards. This is showing strength, though, overall in medicine, so that's good to see. Mid-cap, still kind of lagging here a little bit. It might be forming, though, you see right here, and I'll draw this to help you. It might be forming some semblance of a low level cup with a handle. There you go. It is a valuable lesson for everybody. Please don't think, like on bases, it's got to be a perfectly flat line like this. It used to be this, perfectly flat. No, it doesn't. If it's a slight downward line, something like that's acceptable too. Okay, but always remember, be aware that you need good price action and good volume action. Let's continue onwards. That doesn't look too bad. Mid-cap, move on. Aerospace and defense is fairly strong, and it has been strong. You could look into some aerospace and defense stocks. It's a bit extended now, but notice back in here when it was showing strength, you could have looked it up and said, oh, there's some things moving. There's some stocks that probably lifted with that. There you go. Systematizing. Look at home construction. I mean, this is lagging on the right here, the weekly, and on the daily. Just says be a little cautious with home construction. Growth has picked up some. Look at the weekly and the daily. And we're involved in, S&P 500 growth. Yeah, we're involved in some of those big ones. Sure, it was telling us to. Nothing fancy. Small cap still lagging. Be a little cautious with that. It needs to get over the 50-day here, folks, on the daily chart. It needs to get over that 50. That's what we're after. Continue onwards. Medicine, real estate. It's below the falling 50-day. This sounds like a corny phrase, but it's the truth. The air is better above a rising 50-day moving average line. That'll help you. Not a lot of power there right now. You kind of be cautious with it, folks. Let's move on. Transport's picking up, but there's no real clean, safe entry, and it is there. No, move on. But it is improving. Let me go back to it. It is improving. It's a lot better than it was several weeks ago. That's for sure. And it's a lot better than it was back here, a little over a month ago. So there's some improvement there. That's a plus. Let's move on. Airlines kind of hanging in, but kind of choppy here. Oh, look, it's going. Oh, drops, going, drops, going, drops. Be careful with that, okay? Fits and starts. It's kind of trending up, but it's sloppy. It's sloppy. You know, again, oh, look, it's lifting off and they take it down. Be a little cautious with that. And airline stocks, then by default in the group. There we go. Regional banks lagging, leave it alone. Insurance lagging, leave it alone. By the way, when I do that, I'm not trying to be cute and funny, okay? I'm just laying it out there for you, folks. It's below the falling 50-day. There's no leadership in this group. Don't look for it. Why? Look for strength. Confirm strength. There's none here. Leave it alone. That's simple. Regional banking, lagging, leave it alone. Mid-cap, still kind of lagging. It has improved some though. And so that's good. Maybe that's showing a rally that could be spreading out to mid-cap stocks. Good. Something to consider with mid-cap stocks. Move on. Oil services starts to lift up. It's forming right here. I'll draw this to help you. What do you have there? You've got a cup with a handle. Now here's a good lesson for you. This is a V-shaped cup with a handle, okay? Or a V bottom base, okay? This is a riskier setup. Rounding bottoms on cups or in bases that aren't violent are more constructive. That ain't an opinion, that's a fact. Trying to get that cursor in there. There you go. Kind of V-shaped. What's the best thing this could do in oil services? Form a base up here or a handle and then lift off. Until then, be cautious with it. There you go. There's a good education for us. Pharmaceuticals, they need drugs. There ain't a lot of power there. I'd leave it alone. QLD's picking up a little bit, but you know, again, oh, it runs up and drops, runs up and drops. It runs up and it can't get through this top. The NASDAQ 100, big NASDAQ stocks, love them, but it needs to push through these tops and it needs to push through with volume, okay? There's a clean base right here, and I'll draw this to help you. And we'll do this. Here it is on the weekly. There it is on the daily. It just needs to push through that top, and it needs to push through with volume. Until then, still be a little cautious with NASDAQ 100 stocks. Let's move on. NASDAQ, our QQQs, the non-leveraged ones, same thing as QLD. Okay, there's QLD, excuse me. Move on. Retail, picking up here a little bit, showing some strength. That's nice to see. Cloud computing's picking up a little bit. Maybe looking at some cloud computing stocks. Silver's lagging, stay away. I mean, folks, this is the beautiful part. I'm not doing this to be cute and funny. Oh, that's showing some strength. Maybe looking at some cloud computing. There's nothing there. Leave it alone. That's it. Move on. Time is a very valuable commodity, and our tactics help us use our time wisely. I don't want to look at millions of different things. I want to look at opportunity, potential, and focus on that. And I know you do too. That's why we do this at Mission Winners. Silver's still kind of choppy here. I mean, you can say, well, it's kind of basing down here. Look at the weekly. Look at all that overhead supply. Okay? Be careful with that. Steel, there's no power there. Leave it alone. SMH started to pick up, but it's kind of whippy in here. Look, oh, it's going. Look at that big gap up. They slam it right back down again. Back and forth and back and forth. Be a little cautious with semiconductors, all right? Same thing's true with Direxion semiconductor. Spiders showed some life here. Look at that. Hit new highs for the move. That's good to see. That's showing power. See this lift right here, this downward sloping trend line, and it was lifting up? Yeah, we're involved. We're involved in the markets. It was telling us to. We didn't have to forecast. Now, it's basing up here. Maybe it'll form a handle on the weekly. And I'll draw this to help you. And the same thing's true on the daily. Watch and see. But what's it doing? It's trending up. That's good to see. Just let the chart tell you what to do. That'll help you. Same thing's true with SSO. Same base there on the weekly. You can see it. And I'll draw this to help you. There you go. Solar, what does this tell us? Stay away. Here, look at the weekly. Stay away. There's nothing to do with it. See, it's like, well, that doesn't really help me. Oh, it helps us a lot. We've got a limited amount of money and focus on things. I want to focus on good opportunities, not has-been opportunities or where there's no real opportunity. There's no opportunity here at this time. Leave it alone. Small cap still lagging. Leave them alone. Oil services is kind of choppy. Needs to show some better strength. Be cautious with it. Aerospace and defense picked up a little bit, as you can see. Maybe look into that. Okay. You can punch up XAR, top 10 holdings, to see what's in there. There we go. Biotechnology, stay away. Home builders, stay away. Materials, how do you build houses? With materials. There's no power there. Look at that, birds of a feather. See that? Home builders aren't doing anything. Well, I guess if you need to, if you're going to build houses, there's probably not much demand for that stuff, is there? No, there's not. There we go. Could it change? Sure, it could, but not right now. It's nothing there. Communications, nothing there. Kind of be cautious with it. Energy, not a lot of power there. Be cautious with it. Financials are improving a little bit. That's good to see. Maybe looking at some financials. Industrials kind of going up, a little choppier, not perfect. Okay, it's okay. Technology started to lift up, tailed off here a little bit on Friday. Notice this. See these resistance parts up here? It goes up and drops. It goes up and drops and drops. Right here, it runs up and backs off. And the same thing here and here and here. I'm not being negative. I'm just pointing out charts have a memory. Why? And again, one of my degrees in psychology, think about this. Charts have memory. Why? Because it's humans making decisions and we have a memory. Okay? And it's just spacing right here. It needs to push through there. Every time it runs up there, it backs off. And did it here too. It needs to push through there. There you go. That's a valuable investing lesson right there, folks. There we go. Let's move on here. We're about done. Consumer staples. There's no power there. Leave it alone. Utilities. There's no real power there. Be cautious with it. Healthcare's picking up a little bit, but not a lot of power. Leave it alone. That's why I look at weekly and daily. You look at the daily and say it doesn't look too bad. And then you look at the daily, and it doesn't look too bad. And you look at the weekly, you go, ain't nothing there. There you go. And that's good to know. All different kinds of decisions that help us make better investing decisions. And I love that. And there it is. Improving some, but tons of overhead. Consumer discretionary is kind of lagging, not a lot of power there. Metals and mining, not a lot of power there. Oil is not a lot of power, leave it alone. Retailing needs to show a little bit more strength. Just leave it alone. By the way, I know I'm just going through these, but it's not like we got to tear it apart. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. Just leave them alone. Look for opportunity. It will help you. At Mission Winners, we try, and this is why we do these videos, to train our eyes and mind on what to look for. That's why we do these videos. Software is picking up a little bit. It needs to show some more power across these tops. And I'll draw a line to help you. Needs to push through here and needs to push through with tops. By the way, we extrapolate. If you see an ETF looking really strong, maybe you should look to some stocks in that ETF, in that group, right? I mean, if software's flying, look into some software stocks. There you go. All righty, I will take a small break and hand it over to Owen.
Thanks for that comprehensive breakdown of the ETFs, Pat. Covering the weekend market themes and shining a light on those pockets of strength helps us navigate the opportunities and avoid the pitfalls. Now, let's zoom in on two areas of particular interest: gold and the S&P 500, as they're setting up to potentially play pivotal roles in the coming days. First up, gold, one of the shining stars of the current market landscape. GLD, the gold ETF, has been on a strong upward trajectory, inching closer to its all-time high. A pullback from these levels may present an opportunity to accumulate, depending on how price action unfolds. The key here? Watch where the 8 EMA meets price. This moving average often acts as a guide for momentum, signaling when a pullback might become actionable. Just remember, patience is key, and it's often best to approach accumulation in pieces to manage risk effectively. Now let's turn our attention to the S&P 500, which has spent the past 3 trading sessions in a consolidation zone. This type of setup could resolve in several ways: a breakout above, a breakdown below, or it could stay within the current range. A look above and fail, or a look below and fail, are descriptors that better define a failed breakout or a stay-in-range situation. These scenarios occur when the market moves above or below the range briefly, only to return back into it. Whether the resolution is higher or lower, the subsequent move may result in a target equal to twice the size of the consolidation zone. This potential expansion highlights the importance of staying prepared and disciplined. Looking ahead to the coming week, several events could have a significant impact on market direction. Keep an eye on major earnings reports from companies like Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, and Apple, as well as macroeconomic data such as the FOMC decision, GDP figures, and employment data. These catalysts could inject volatility and offer opportunities for those ready to act. With all this talk of opportunities and risk management, it's a good time to step back and reflect on something equally important: gratitude. Consistent gratitude isn't just good for your mental health, it's good for your trading mindset too. Taking even a few minutes each day to write down what you're grateful for can shift your focus away from the negative, be it losses, missed opportunities, or general market frustration. Remember, gratitude shines brightest in challenging times. Maybe you're grateful for the lessons learned from a difficult trade or the support of a trading mentor. Over time, this practice helps replace those negative emotions with a sense of control and optimism. As we say, mastering your strategy is just as important as mastering your mindset. And with that, let's hand things back over to Pat, who's ready to walk us through the max list. This is where the big names like Apple, Amazon, and Meta give us tremendous opportunities if we know how to approach them with the right tactics.
All right, now let's get into the max list. First up is Apple. Daily chart. What's the trend, folks? I learned this years ago. Somebody shared this with me. I forget who it was, but if you want to know the trend, take a picture of the chart, tape it up on the wall, go 5 feet away, turn around and look at it. That's your trend. What's the trend in Apple? It's down. Don't argue with it. Don't try to pick bottoms, okay? That's like an ego game, okay? More money is made in riding trends like this was here than trying to say, oh, this is the bottom, this is the bottom. Just wait, it'll tell you. Now, right now, what's the trend? The trend is down. It says be cautious with Apple. That's simple. Now there's Amazon. Trended here, then based again, and started to lift up. We're in it. It's hanging in fine. Not an explosive move yet, but it's a start. Remember this. Every big move has to start somewhere. Maybe this is the start. It will tell us. The beautiful part is this. We bought some, we sold a little bit. If this falls, we'll lock in profits and we won't lose. No matter what happens, we're going to make money. We base our decisions on the daily charts too. I haven't looked at 5-minute charts. Good Lord, I can't remember when. It's maybe this century, but anyway, ride trends. Focus on that. It will help you. You can make more money with less stress, and that's good. Stress derails thought processes, and yes, I've got degrees in psychology too, okay, and we tore it apart in some of those classes. Let me tell you, the people drop off because they couldn't cope with it. So let's move on. The trend is up. Here's what I'd like to see. Base here, and then it starts to go again. That'll be good. Guess what we'll do? We'll buy more. It'll tell us what to do. BABA's downtrend, really no power here. It did show some life, but there's a tremendous amount of overhead down here, all through here, okay? Make this smaller so you can see what I'm talking about. A lot of sellers. Every time this thing goes up, it's going to be met with selling. The plus is this, though. You know, it's been falling and choppy and stuff, but no, studying price and volume, and I'll make this a little bigger. Oh, there was some up volume on this bar. Went sideways here. Oh, there was up volume on this bar. Maybe it's starting to turn the trend. I'm not saying it did, but every trend has to start someplace, and maybe this is putting in a bottom and work. It'll tell us what to do. That's the beautiful part of Mission Winners. We don't have to forecast. It'll tell us what to do, and we don't argue with it. We just get in line with it. BIDU, note this. It's above the 200-day and the 50-day. That's the purple line and the green line, okay? Here's the cousin, BIDU. It's a little bit above the 50-day, but it's still below the purple, the 200-day. It's not as strong. It is picking up a little bit, but it's not as strong as BABA. A lot of overhead supply, really nothing to do with it. Just pointing that out. Eventually there might be, though. There's Google. I like this on Google. I like that it lifted off here, okay? Didn't close strong here. It's still basing. It hasn't taken off yet. But notice, I've already got the price alert set, folks. I'm already prepared. Another great lesson. I'm going to make this bigger to help you. Note the price alert. It's not at the highs of the bar. It's a little bit below it. I'm going to make it a little bit lower. Why? It is not a stop, it's an alert. Set your alerts a little bit below the pivot so that when the alert goes off, you can study the stock and say, oh, it's approaching the pivot. Oh, there's volume coming into it. Oh, maybe I might want to buy some of that. Or, oh, it touched this, but now there ain't no volume coming in there. There's nobody buying it. We want other people to see. This is a very important foundation. We want other people to see what we see, and they're buying. And how is buying measured? Price action backed by volume. Right now, this is still basing, but I do like the base that's forming here on Google. And oh yes, it's a MAXLIST stock. Let's move on. Goldman Sachs lifted across here. You see this base here and it lifted off on volume? Oh, guess what we did? We bought there. There we go. And we added to it and we added to it again. Okay. We sold a little bit into strength. We're in good shape. Price alerts are set. We'll see what it does. Maybe it's going to base here and take off again. And what do? If it does, we'll buy more. It'll tell us what to do. That's it. No high stress here. MasterCard's forming a base here. You can see, here's the one risk. It's a V-shaped base, and I'll draw this to help you. By the way, you're listening to a guy that's only source of income for, dang near 20 years was investing profits. I had no other sources of income. Oh, you had wealthy relatives. Oh no, my dad died when I was in my 20s. No, I was helping to support my mom. So that was life. There we go. There you go. Just kind of a V-shaped base. Maybe it's going to base, form a handle, and then push through these tops. It will need to push through with good price action and good volume and the M and mission winners. It'll need a good market. There you go. Let's see here. Meta lifted off for us. Gosh, I talked about this. I was talking about this darn near every day for a week and a half or so. Say, hey, this is kind of basing. Well, this is kind of basing. And then finally, boom, we get the lift with volume. Added to it twice. Once, locked a little bit in up here. Okay, so we're in great shape. Earnings 129. This is a very important lesson, helpful note for everybody. Please put notes on your charts. You don't have to load them up with a whole bunch of different minutia, but I think it's pretty darn important to know earnings dates. Stock has earnings on 129. It has earnings next week. Know that. There we go. Continue on. Microsoft. Now, what's Microsoft for? Well, it's formed a cup. Oh, look, it's starting to form a handle, and the handle is forming on decreasing volume, less selling pressure. See this little handle right here? Low-level cup with a handle. Perhaps it'll take it out. Something to watch on Microsoft. And by the way, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying watch and see. There you go. We'll be prepared. Netflix lifted up here, gapped up on earnings. Earnings did that. But note how it opened. Note how it closed. There's a valuable lesson here. I put this on here for a reason. First off, it's a MAXLIST stock. Secondly, I love it. Third, be careful buying big gap ups. Gaps up, fades off the highs. Wouldn't you be ticked if you bought that right here, right near the open? 998, that's where it opened. 998, and it closes on this bar at 954. Hey, that's, you know what they call that in the business, folks? And I've been in the business for a long time. That's called a haircut, okay? And if you looked at me, you can say, I don't think you need a haircut, Pat. Yeah, I'd kind of have to agree with you. I haven't needed a haircut for a while. This is just basing here. Fell on heavy volume, okay? Up on less volume, quiet inside bar on less volume. Perhaps it'll form a little pennant here and take off. I don't know if it will or not, but we'll be ready. NVIDIA. Gapped up and faded hard. Gapped up, look at this. Had earnings, runs up, okay, and then starts to drop. What does that tell you? You've got to be careful with that. This will help all of you. Study and know price and volume action and combine both together. Look what it does. Gaps up, runs up, and fades. There's another lesson here. Be careful chasing big price gap ups. There was one right here, and that would kind of hurt. Oh, there was one right here, and that was kind of hurt. Oh, there was one right here, and it ran up and then faded. That would kind of hurt. Try to buy close to the pivot. You'll do better. Also, chasing price is more of an emotional decision-making process. And again, part of my background is in psychology. Be careful chasing price. That is, again, a high emotion decision-making, and high emotions and clear thought processes are mutually exclusive. There you go. Let's move on here. NVDL, the same thing as NVIDIA, kind of sloppy there. Be careful with that. Block just, it's kind of sloppy. It needs to get over the 50-day. This sounds like a corny line, but it's the truth. The air is better above a rising 50-day. Let's get over the 50-day. Tesla's just basing here, okay? Needs to push through these tops. Another valuable lesson. Earnings, 129. They have earnings next week, folks. How many of you knew that? That's important to know. I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know what the reaction is going to be, but I do know buying a stock just before earnings can cause a serious problem if it doesn't work out. I don't buy just before earnings. I don't, okay? So that's just me. And I also don't act on inside information, okay? I don't have any inside information, but I wouldn't act on it. It's illegal. It's illegal. It's immoral. It's dirty money. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so just leave this alone until earnings. Or if you do, be cautious. Continue. TSLL, same situation. Got to wait for earnings. And then Visa. Visa had a line right here that it lifted across. Pushed across here. I'll draw something for you to help you. There you go. That's it. Just a simple base. Never really had heavy volume, okay, as you can see, but it did lift off. And notice, once it lifted through, it didn't test you. Now, I wouldn't buy it up here, okay? And I didn't buy it here either. It didn't have any volume. Just, true confession. I didn't buy it. So, you missed it. Let's be realistic. We start getting wrapped up into that game. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. That's called investing through the rearview mirror. And that's mentally, psychologically not good for you. So don't, learn from things, study them, but don't beat yourself up. Just constant and never-ending improvement, always get better. So there's Visa. Now, it's extended in price. I wouldn't chase it up here. We'll watch and see. And that is it for this week's Max List. Hope you all enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments below. Also, make sure to push the like and subscribe. We don't want you to miss out on tomorrow's watch list video. Owen, I think that is it, good buddy.
Thanks, Pat, for that incredible analysis. The Max List never fails to deliver actionable insights, and your breakdown makes navigating these institutional giants a whole lot easier. That wraps up today's episode of Market Edge. Ahead of the trade. Remember, mastering your strategy, trusting the process, and maintaining your edge is the key to staying ahead in this game. We'll see you next week. Until then, trade smart, stay disciplined, and have a great week.